Hello, hello, and welcome to the first of the Roadish Podcasts. I'm Rune Black Live, and I'm here with.
Armageddon. I'm gonna go by Armageddon, I think.
You're going to go with Armageddon. Okay, cool, no
Yes.
worries. So we're going to have to bear with us to some degree because this is the first of the podcast where we're trying to make it as fun as and entertaining as we possibly can, but the premise isn't. Essentially, you've asked me to do a podcast, and it's going to be both of us on a regular basis. We're hoping about once a week or so, but we don't really have much planned.
No, we're just winging it to start
We
off
are,
with.
yeah, exactly that. And so we're going to do a little bit of an intro for us, for anyone who does decide to listen to this absolute shit show that it's going to be. I'm guessing most of the people that are going to be listening are going to be people that we already know. That's fine, but we're going to do a quick intro for anyone who may not know who we are, and then we're actually going to go into some "Am I the Arsehole?" Reddit stories, I guess, and essentially trying to get some conversation out of that, which will be kind of interesting. Every so often, I feel like there will be podcasts that will just have a chat and a catch up because we do that quite often anyway. So if you're okay with it, I'm gonna do a quick intro and introduce who I am. Not gonna last very long, and then if you want to do the same, that'd be great.
Yeah, of
But
course, go for it.
my name's Rune Black Live. I just go by Rune. That is my first name. Uh, Essentially just memes. We're both Twitch streamers. And essentially what I try to do on mine, other than fail at Valorant, most of the time, playing a few games here and there, is just a chatting, conversation, interview-based stream. We're trying to invite people on and invite them out of their comfort zones and into maybe my echo chamber as such. But attempt to not circle jerk. And I'm pretty sure it was through Valorant that I found you, actually, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It actually was.
It actually was. But yeah, go for it. Introduce yourself.
I go by Armageddon. My name is Armand, and yeah, I am a Twitch streamer, obviously. I play Valorant mostly 24/7. And I came up with a podcast idea because I was bored and I have a lot of free time. But yeah,
Awesome.
that's all you need to know about me.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. I mean, that is essentially why you've decided to do this, is just a case of, do you want to do a podcast? Sweet, here we are. So
About a month later, I think, as well.
it did take a while. I don't know why it took so long. We were like, yeah, we'll do it on this day. And then, oh, okay, well, we're just going to play Valorant. It's like, okay.
Valorant will end us all. I can just see it.
I have a feeling that possibly in the future, well, one of the things that you actually approached me with, that there's quite a few people that you know that want to be on podcasts and be
Yes.
interviewed and that kind of thing. So in the
Yeah.
future,
So
we are hoping
in
to
the
have
future,
those
we'll
on.
have we'll obviously have guests in the future.
Yeah,
With
yeah.
obviously a lot of interesting backgrounds.
Hopefully, hopefully there'll be
Yeah.
interesting backgrounds.
Well, obviously, I only know interesting people.
Of course, yeah. Your circle of friends is just the most interesting. If they can peel themselves away from Valorant or I don't know any other type of game they play, like the shit show that is Warzone.
Uh,
But there should be. I'm interested in that because I don't know a lot of your circles and whatnot, and hopefully the same on my end as well. I'll invite some streamer friends in and have a conversation with them, maybe slightly differently than what I've been doing with the interviews and whatnot. And I would say
right.
they're reasonably interesting. Maybe
Yeah.
was it just based off of wanting to do a podcast, or was it like you're just like, oh, pick someone at random and be like, yeah, cool, let's do this talking thing.
No, so how I actually went about it is I genuinely woke up one morning and I was like, podcasts are cool. I'm going to try and make one of my own. But then I was like, this was like last year. This was like pandemic time.
Oh wow, okay.
But I was like, who with? I can't just start a podcast by myself. I need someone who, has a decent audience. Like Rune has quite a decent audience. I don't know. He has like, what, 200 people following him. So
Yeah,
it's a decent
roughly.
audience, but nothing too big because then I'd seem like out of place. And I don't know anyone like that at the time. And then I was playing Valorant, obviously, and I met Rune, and I was like, "Oh, sick! This guy is cool." And obviously, we played a lot more. We got to know each other a lot better. And I obviously forgot about the podcast thing. And I remembered one day, and I was like, "Oh shit! We found the right guy." And I told Rune about it, and he was totally cool with it. He was like, "Yeah, let's do this shit. This sounds cool." And
Yeah.
yeah, this is how we got here.
Yeah, it took a while, but yeah, here we are, and hopefully it's something that we can do on a regular basis, and
Yeah.
invite
Just want
other
to
people
say
to do.
I am the guy with the ideas, and he's absolutely the brains of this shit. So if it's something
Oh
doesn't
God.
sound right, he is the fault, and if the idea is boring, it's my fault.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. We'll take different levels of responsibility for how this goes. Um, I think to some degree it's got to be understood that this is this is different from streaming. This is a different set of circumstances, and hopefully people will bear with us to some degree that it might be a bit sketchy at the beginning, it might be a bit rough around the edges, but as it hopefully progresses, that it'll get better and it will just be something extra and more content for people to listen to uh,
Yeah,
that they
and
find interesting.
and after all, we're learning. You know, we this
Yeah.
literally our first podcast. We are learning, so we'll take suggestions and anything we could do to improve.
Yeah, of course. At the end of the podcast, we'll advertise what we need to, and we have set up a Discord server for people to come in and suggest things. I wouldn't be too surprised if we end up with things like a YouTube channel and a Reddit as well, and people can talk about that kind of thing there. And even through that, if someone seems interested enough or interesting enough, that we can invite them in and have those conversations with those people as well. Um,
Yeah, of course.
yeah, it would just be one of those of reaching out to more people and every so often memeing, just memes, because who doesn't like memes at the end of the day? Which is essentially why we're doing an "Am I the Arsehole?" Um, I think it
Great
gives a good.
segue. I have to say, great segue.
It was a good segue. The condescension starts already. No, I'm kidding. It's fine. The it's essentially what I find through mediums like this anyway is like being able to flush out our viewpoints and really get into our thought process, which I find interesting just inherently anyway. It's something I always have. Uh, but as we go through, if, by all means, I'm guessing I'm going to read out the first one. If you're okay for me to do
Yes,
that,
yes. Please do read
interrupt,
out.
interrupt at any time. If it's one of those, is like right, I have a comment to make about this. Go for it, just 100%, because there could be something that's like right. Let's see if this gets cleared up. Uh,
Okay.
so we haven't vetted these, but we kind of went over the headlines of them. So between us, we kind of figured out that these are the kind of things that we want to go over. Um, and we'll take suggestions in the future as well. By all means, we will take suggestions in the future. So I'm going to read the title for the first one, and then I'm going to ask for your initial like reaction, what you think about this. Maybe don't give the exact answer, but if you can give some sort of like what's your immediate reaction to it, just from the headline. So it's "Am I the arsehole for not tattooing my stepson's name on my arm?" So
No, I don't think you're the asshole.
okay. So personally, as someone with quite a few tattoos, I would never get a name. I'm not a fan of text tattoos as such.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. Or less like they're incorporated. Like you have
mhm.
like a big tattoo, and then like part of it is like a little bit of writing, but not nothing too much.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Especially names. Names are a no go.
Well, context I think does matter, and when it comes to this, is like it's not this person's son. We are only going from the headline here, and we will get into the context of it and the story. Stepson seems a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
I would get my mom's name maybe, or like
mhm,
my dad's, but anything with like stepson, stepfather, stepmother, step uncle,
yeah.
step grandmother, whatever, I would not even come close to think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's perfectly fine. Right, so we'll go through the story and see if this person has good justification for the choices that they've made. However, I have a feeling just from that we'll agree with it already. Um, so this person, the OP who posted the story, is a 36 male, and the wife is a 35-year-old female. I have two kids from my first marriage, a 9-year-old male and a 7-year-old female. I've been married to my wife for over 4 years, and we have one female daughter. She
One
has
year
an
old.
was it a what is it a 1-year-old?
Yes,
Have
it
I got
does.
a typo already?
Yeah, it does say we have a
Oh,
one-year
yeah,
old
it does.
daughter.
It is a 1-year-old female daughter. Yeah, yeah, sorry, sorry. And she has, an 8-year-old male son from her first marriage. So I'm guessing this is the stepson that's been mentioned previously.
Yes.
Um, the kids all live with us. My kids' mother has visitations or once one weekend, so one weekend a month. Her son's dad isn't involved at all. Okay, so there is some family stuff going on here. I have the
Goes
names of
family
my
drama.
old of course, there always is slightly maybe when it comes to step stuff anyway. I have the names of my oldest 2 kids tattooed on my arm. Ah, okay, so this is immediately the context of why this question
Right.
has been asked. I recently added the name of my youngest daughter. Makes sense. My wife and I were talking about the tattoo, and she asked me if I'll tattoo my stepson's name in the same round as our daughters. Okay, so in one session, they're thinking about getting both names done at the same time. Um,
Right.
so they have together the 1-year-old daughter. She has an 8-year-old son from the first marriage. Now, I think time definitely plays a factor in this. Um,
Yes.
so they've been married for 4 years. So they've he's only actually known the stepson for 4 years out of the 8-year-old's life. Um, so yeah, it's not a recent thing.
Yeah, but in a way, I feel like if you know, if let's say I would be to marry someone, right,
Mhm.
and they'd have a kid who's a 1 year old, yeah, I would see that kid as my own son. They're one. They
Okay.
don't have a perception of what's going on. But I feel like at 4, even at 3, even at 3 or 4 years old, the kids start having a perception about what's going on.
Yeah,
You know
of
what I
course.
mean?
They have an
And then,
understanding.
yeah, and then at that point, it's like, like, sure, he may be stupid and doesn't realize what's going on, but he still has the idea of I'm not actually his father.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, I think time does definitely play it's a heavy contextual point of this story. Um, but anyway, as he continues to say, I told her I have no intention of tattooing his name. She was shocked and asked me why. I said I only have the names of my children tattooed. She said I'm excluding her son and he is part of the family too. Now, this I do agree with. He is part of the family, but I can understand.
He's part of the family, but he did say of my
Hmm.
children. Now,
Hmm.
technically, he's not his that kid's
Hmm.
not his children because they're not related by blood. The only thing that makes
Hmm.
them related is a piece
Yeah.
of paper. So you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
It is an
It's
odd area because you could probably get into some really, like, weird conversations and thought processes of, like, what you consider your children. Like, are you the parental guardian of this person? Yeah. What specifically is it that excludes the stepson? And it is biological. That is it. So you could go down some weird routes of, like, well, would you call adoptive parents and children not their parents or not their children? Like, you could get into weird areas, so I can maybe understand at maybe a surface level why it would be questioned.
no, I get that what you mean with the
Mhm.
adoption thing because yeah, in a way you could say, well, that means that they're not
Yeah,
your children,
you're not
because you
considering
adopted
it.
them. But at that point, yeah, but at that point when you adopt someone, is like you wanted them, that's what I mean. You wanted them, but maybe the guy was like, yeah, sure, I want you, but your kid is just something I have to bear with.
Possibly, yeah, it sounds cold to say it that way and blunt, but that is true. It is a package
Yeah.
deal. If you're interested in someone and you go to the lengths of that you wanna marry this person, you're not choosing that child to come into your life. You're just you're having the understanding that they are part of a package deal. It's not like, "Oh, yeah, I'm gonna marry you, and your stepson can just fuck off somewhere." Like, that isn't how it works. Obviously, if it was like
Yeah.
an 18-year-old had moved out, I guess that person or the son then has or even the daughter, whichever whatever the situation is at that particular time, would have more of an input of, "Do I want to know this stepfather or mother that they're getting involved with?" I think the age is an odd area because they have an understanding that it isn't their biological parents. Yeah, it's an
Yeah.
odd one.
Yeah.
And obviously, the last line of the
The,
story is, "I refused to tattoo his name and proceeded to only tattoo my daughter's name. Wife called me all sorts of things," which that's just not good. Like,
that's obviously not a healthy
yeah,
relationship.
it's not great. It's like, if you can air these grievances without just calling and name calling and resorting to violence, um, which I say violence in the respect of verbally, it could be. And
Yes.
I don't think this person's the arsehole. Pretty much yeah,
No, no, I don't
our
think
our
he is.
viewpoints haven't really changed from the initial, but it is a good conversation starter and a good hypothetical route to go down of what you consider your own children. The ages play a massive part, as we've said quite a few times. It's definitely interesting.
Yeah, of course. Ages really
Yeah.
do matter.
As I said, if it was like an 18-year-old, they would obviously have their own priorities of whether they want to be involved in that person's life. When it comes to an 8-year-old, they're still obviously very heavily reliant on the parent.
Yeah, they don't really have a say on what the
Yeah,
hell's
of
happening.
course.
They just exist there and move on with their life until they
Yeah.
progress
I
further.
wonder if I wonder if the 8-year-old has some sort of understanding of what tattoos are. I wonder what his input would be. Of, like, if he had an understanding
Yeah,
of, like, "Oh, if I were to ask you, would you want your name tattooed on me along with my children?" Not to say he would change his mind or the stepdad would change his mind on any side of that. Be interesting to see what if the stepson had an understanding of the implications of that, just in the
yeah,
basis of a
yeah,
tattoo. Or you could go down a whole different route of, like, whether children understand
yeah.
consequences for those kind of actions at that young age, which is could be considered a consent thing, but still. Okay. We're deeming it as not the
Right.
arsehole, but even
Not
so,
the asshole.
it's good to start off with something short, but we do have quite a few of these, so we're gonna work our way through. Are you okay for me to go for the cake one?
Cake one,
I
cake
will.
one, cake one.
Okay.
Yes, yes. The cake one is actually a great next one.
Again, these stories haven't been vetted, but I've had a quick look through to just kind of quickly format them. So hopefully the grammar is decent, but essentially they are a copy and paste. But they'll be interesting anyway. Some of them look a little bit harder to read, so bear with me if it sounds absolutely fucking awful. Right, and then I think we've got a nice one afterwards as well, which I'm interested about. So we've got, am I the arsehole for taking the cake I baked for my fiance's birthday and going home? Initial impressions, go for it.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna disagree with you. I'm gonna say no.
You don't bake a cake for an occasion and then take it home with you because you got upset or something.
True. It's a birthday cake, which does have some sort of
Like
it's an odd
I
one.
feel like it's a birthday cake, so it's like a gift.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? You, just because they said something, you're not gonna get upset and take the gift away. It's their birthday.
Yeah, it's like a social contract, I suppose, if you were to put it that way.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
Immediately, see, I would say for this to go this far, I may be adding context in my own head without actually reading through what actually happened. It's a tough one because I'm immediately thinking that the fiance has unfortunately done something, to the point that
yes. Well, of course.
that
Otherwise, you wouldn't just take the cake
yeah,
home.
but I'm seeing in a sense of, like, to the point of not even just taking the birthday cake away, but actually leaving the event that these people are at, because the last bit of it being saying going home means that these people are due to being married, so they're engaged, and they don't currently live
Right.
together. I
Mm.
a flag goes up
Oh,
and
they might have been at a venue.
possibly, yes, okay, fair enough. I didn't think of that. They could be at a venue. So, with that, we'll go through and we'll see if my mind changes. At the moment, I'm like, "Nah, fuck you." Just, like, take the cake. It's like, if they've done something really shitty, it's like, well, I'm not gonna then just I'm this petty, okay? This is why I'm agreeing with it at this particular point. I would be this petty to be like, "Nah, I'm gonna leave. Like, I bought this cake, I'm taking it with me." But we'll see. We'll see. I'm open to my mind being changed depending on the circumstances. So, me, a 25-year-old female, and my fiance, a 31-year-old male, Ben's mom don't have the best relationship. So, the fiance is called Ben. They haven't given away the name of Ben's mom. I try my best to be polite around her, but she's the type that would have high standards or expectations of whoever dates her son. She has three. Okay, so the mother has three sons and is judgmental. Yeah, let's say we got that. She commented on my hair and body several times, and at some point suggested cosmetic surgeries for the future. Okay, this is a fucking yeah. This is a
Whoa!
dickhead of a person. Fuck this mother. um, Strange, very strange. This upsets me, but Ben tells me this is who she is, and I need to learn to have a thick skin since oftentimes she doesn't really mean to be malicious. I hate this. I hate this already.
Yeah,
Um, this might just be another social thing that maybe I don't work in the same way that other people do. When people use the excuse, "Oh, that's just how so and so person is," fine. They're still a dickhead. They can be dickhead somewhere else. I don't have to interact with them.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you,
Mhm.
but to some degree, it does make sense because I've been told many times, "Oh, you can be a massive dickhead," and I'm like, "Yes, but I have reasons." It doesn't seem like the mother has reasons, but in some social parts,
Mhm.
what am I saying? I have lost the plot.
You've lost it.
I I've lost it.
So you're saying in
Right.
certain, like, social situations, if someone has wronged you as such, um, you being a
Yes.
dickhead to them is essentially what you'd consider as maybe not revenge, but you're
No,
matching
not
their energy.
revenge, but
Yeah,
yes,
you're
exactly,
matching
exactly what I mean.
energies.
Exactly what I mean.
Okay, that I think that is perfectly fine, but I personally write people off quite easily. That maybe it's detrimental, but I'm very, very careful about who I interact with on many bases actually. One being what happened the other day, which I'll go into a little bit more of a story about it in the future if people want to hear about it. Uh, first person that I think I've been blocked by on Twitter. Got into a little bit of a tiff.
Ooh.
Wasn't anything particular, but I'm fine with that. That's what the button is there for, and I'll go into the story at some point in the future, maybe. But I don't give a shit because I will happily write someone off and be like, "That's what the block button is for. You don't want your views questioned or have some sort of conversation, that's fine. That I will do that. But I will go to the extreme that I will also do this with family. So
Okay.
yeah, this is where people might get a bit funny. If I was in this particular situation, I would write off this mum, this mother figure of my fiance. I would write them off and just have no interaction with them. I just wouldn't bother with them.
Oh, I mean, I I wouldn't. I would ignore it, but I've always been like, say and do what you want. I am gonna ignore you because if you're not worth my time, I'm not
Mhm.
gonna give you my time.
Of course.
But your cutting off actually is very similar to what I would do.
Okay. No, that's perfectly fine. It falls under that purview of the excuses that people use for, oh, this person's just a bit of a dick. It's like that's fine if they want to do that, but I don't have to have anything to do with them. Like, I don't think that's a valid excuse for someone being a dickhead just because they are. Is like, okay, that fine, I
Yeah.
guess, but like, how's it working out for them? Because if people are just constantly giving them a pass and not questioning on things, fuck them. I don't bother with them. There's no point. So I'm fucking triggered by this, okay? I would admit it. Seeing things like this of like, you just need to learn to have a thick skin. It's like, no, I don't. I can just write them off. It's fine. Right. Anyway, we'll continue with the story and see what happens with the cake, although it's making me hungry.
Oh,
Anyways.
don't talk about food.
Anyways, I'm known for baking cakes and sweets. Ben eats what I make, but whenever I bring something to his family to try, they find every excuse in the world not to eat it. I'm okay with that and stop doing
Ah,
it. Oh, okay. So no, I feel like it's
now I get more understanding.
yeah. So they they're trying to find excuses of why not they wouldn't eat the baking of cakes or sweets or anything like that. I need a little bit more clarification on the last bit of saying, "I'm okay with that, that's fine. If they just wanna leave the food, that's fine," and stopped doing it. Now, did you stop baking things and this was like a
I think they stopped baking things. I think
okay,
that's what they meant.
or was it a case of stopped taking like, they're still baking, but they stopped taking things particularly to the family? That's what I was gonna ask for clarification on, but obviously we can't do that with the original poster here, but still. Um
I mean, I could shoot him a quick DM.
Yeah, let's see how that goes. I think this got like a silly amount of upvotes and probably inundated with questions, but even so. Okay, cool. So I think this is the main part of what actually happened. So I'm gonna swing my way through it. If you want to interrupt, go for it.
Right.
For Ben's 31st, his mum wanted to host a party. I decided to bake him his birthday cake, and he was thrilled with it. I went grocery shopping, took time off work to put so much effort into making it how he likes. I took it with me to his mum's house and to my surprise, when I walked in, I saw a large birthday cake sitting at the dining table. Okay. Hmm.
Mm.
I was puzzled. Uh, okay, here we are. I was puzzled. The future mother-in-law, should I say, said that she requested this cake from a bakery and paid X amount of money for it. I asked, "What about the cake I've made?" She responded, "Oh, you can place it on the counter over there and we'll let the kids have it." This felt like ice was dropping all over me. Damn, this is something.
Wow, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Now, I know this from my own experience because I cook a lot,
Okay.
right? I cook a lot for my parents, for people, for my
Mhm.
friends. Uh, but and when someone is like trying to find like right, my dad used to do this a lot. He used to always try and find excuses to not eat my food.
Right.
And when questioned about it, he'd be like, "Oh, I don't know. I just don't trust your hand." I'm like, Jesus
That's
Christ.
yeah, a little bit harsh. It's like I think the what would annoy me more is the next sentence, which follows on from ice being dropped all over me. I looked at Ben, obviously the fiance,
Yeah, the fiance.
and he nodded at me in a just do it way, similar to what's happened before, as in you just have to have a thick skin. It's like so it's not being questioned. This it seems very much like this woman is just being pushed to the side. They are very much like a second priority of like, no, I need to appease my mother. You come second to this, which doesn't seem like good standing for someone that you're due to be married
No,
to.
no, no, no. I mean, if I'd be in her position, I would not marry him. He's too much of a mama's boy.
It does seem like a little bit of a red flag of like just bending to the will of a parent
Like,
when they don't seem to have much like what's the word I'm after? Agency for themselves.
right,
It seems
of
odd.
course. Now, no, because you see, like, it gets to a certain point in your life where you can't let your parents influence your life anymore.
Mhm.
Because at that point, you're back to being a 5-year-old.
Yeah, I think
You know what I
you
mean?
can value their opinion. Um,
Yes, no, of course. Listen to what they have to say
yeah,
because they're obviously older and probably know more. Uh, but value their opinion, but don't let that fully influence you. Like if everyone around you tells you to do something, and then your mum says, "Oh, you should do the other thing," don't change it because of one person.
yeah. Regardless of who that person is, you can take the advice and you can place it into the situation and see, or have at least a thought process of what the outcome might look like. But just taking it as is and being like, well, I've been told to do this by someone that I've listened to for the rest of my life, and now I have absolutely no agency of my own to make my own decisions. It annoys me to some
Right.
degree that people work like this sometimes. But anyway, we'll get back into the story and see if it will trigger me even more.
Continue reading.
I told him that I didn't need my cake. He didn't need my cake, and by extension, since my efforts were so easily dismissed and disrespected. Oh wait, I missed a sentence. I'm so sorry. Fuck. Um,
Mhm.
I was so mad. I was so mad, and the cake was still in my hands at the time. I turned around and made my way to the door. His mum remained standing, but Ben followed me and asked where I was going. I told him that
Right.
he didn't need my cake, and by extension, since my efforts were so easily dismissed and disrespected. Very true. But it is
Very true. Very,
by
very, very true.
extension, it's like, well, I'm being pushed aside. I'm very much in second place right now. He said I was overreacting and that his mum paid so much for that cake, and it was only fair that he accept it. That's fair on Ben's part that he should accept it, but that doesn't mean these aren't mutually exclusive. You can accept both. Like one has a
Yes,
lot of
of course.
sentimental meaning, one has a lot of monetary meaning, but that doesn't mean you just write one of them off.
Sentimental whoops the living shit out of
Oh
monetary.
yeah, I would say so.
In my opinion, like if you have an object with a high sentimental value and then you're offered to trade that object for a high monetary value,
Hmm.
personally I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
You know, under like specific circumstances, like I have a teddy right
Hmm.
in my wardrobe
Okay.
that I've had since I was one, I believe. I stole it from a supermarket. We don't talk about that though.
We'll have to hear the story about
and
that in the future.
and I have had that for my entire life.
Hmm.
And if someone would come and offer me, I don't know, £1 million, I wouldn't give it up.
No, that's fair.
But obviously, you come up with stupid amounts of money, and I would say, "Oh, okay, it's life changing,"
Yeah.
but but that's obviously stupid amounts of money. So
No, that's perfectly fine. One thing that I do want to do in the future is a bit of a stolen idea because I also listen to the Happy Hour podcast. They did one a while ago, and they've done one recently of everyone has a price. and it's essentially just to set up some situations and see how much it would cost for you to do that particular thing.
Ooh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Actually,
so
I
it's one of those.
actually never heard of happy hour
Okay.
thingy, but I do that with my friends
Okay.
sometime.
Yeah, it could be interesting to bring. So, like one example that comes to mind is like, how much would it be to tattoo your face with something the size of a 5 pence piece? Like, how much would you need to be
Mm,
paid for that? For me, it's relatively low, but that's because I've got quite a
yeah,
lot of tattoos. But it is interesting to see what thought process people go through. Anyway,
yeah, yeah.
we've got a little
Anyway,
bit left of the
continue
story.
with the story.
So at this point, obviously the OP was leaving, and this is where we continue. He begged me to get back inside and do him this favor by basically just go with the flow, but I decided to go home. Very similar to what happened earlier. He got mad and started saying I was being unreasonable and stirring drama over nothing. I don't think this is over nothing at this point, but still.
No, no, no.
I went home and he didn't get back until 11 p.m. We don't have a time frame, so we don't know how long that is after leaving. I'm guessing reasonably early most of the day.
Yeah, yeah.
He was so upset, he said he and his family didn't appreciate the childish behavior I displayed and ruining his party and disrespecting his mum like that.
I mean, it's not really disrespecting your mother. It's more your
Uh,
mother disrespecting her.
yeah, and it seems weird that no one else is really seeing it that way. So far, I'm agreeing, and I'm changing my mind on what I originally said. Uh, yeah, possibly. He said I turned this into a huge deal and should have acted more maturely instead of walking out with the cake. Am I the arsehole for taking the cake and walking out? Nah,
No, you're not the
nah,
asshole.
not the
I've
arsehole.
changed my mind because that's because I've no circumstances. So
Yeah, there's very much so of like being pushed aside, being made essentially feeling like you're second place to your fiance's birthday as well, and it's specifically where it says to making it to the way that he likes it. Yeah, so went grocery shopping, took time off work, put so much into
yeah,
effort into making it how he likes it. So she knows his preferences, gone out the way rather than just like I'm just going to buy an off the shelf cake and pretend it's mine. Obviously, this person likes
yeah,
doing things like this.
baking.
Yeah, and all that kind of thing. As she said, I'm known for baking cakes and sweets, so it's something that's obviously done on the regular. I feel like there was a little bit of context where they set up the general demeanor of the soon to be or future mother-in-law, um, saying about the cosmetic surgeries for the future. It seems like there was a little bit of context to see what kind of mindset that she's in. This is obviously something that's happened.
Obviously not a good one.
Yeah, of course. For whatever reason, just even by the high standards and expectations, obviously thinks very lowly of Ben, the son's choice of partner for the future, which shouldn't really play too much of a part unless there's some underlying red flag that we obviously aren't seeing because this is a very small snippet, and probably typed in such a way that it makes the OP look the way that maybe they want it to be. But from the story that we've been given, not the asshole for walking out with the cake.
Not the asshole.
And especially because there is one already there. Like, it doesn't ruin
Yeah,
the
yeah.
party. It's maybe slightly disappointing for Ben, but it's not the end of the world.
I bet you the rest of the family was actually happy a bit.
The mother very much so, most likely. Of
Yeah,
just being like, "Yeah, cool. I'm happy that this person isn't here that I've been talking shit to for God knows how long." But yeah, it's an odd one, but definitely not the arsehole. I wouldn't say so anyway.
right. Next one.
So the next one we're gonna go over is: Am I the arsehole for exposing my dad to the family after he? This could be interesting because that's literally what the title is, and we'll see how this goes. Um,
Oh, they left us on a cliffhanger. I already hate the OP.
exactly that. So we're going to go straight into this one because there isn't too much to say about the headline itself, but we'll go through. It's reasonably short, but we'll see what happens. I have just noticed this is the wrong story. Bear with me.
Oh.
I know. Well planned. See, this is what happens on the first podcast. Okay, this is actually a really long story. Okay, cool. Right.
If it's very long, we could skip it if you don't want to read that much.
No, I'm all good with it because we've got time, so we'll be fine. So
Okay, go for it.
So my siblings, a 24-year-old male and a 22-year-old female, and I, a 26-year-old male. So bear that in mind that this person isn't a child and isn't a teenager having a bit of a paddy.
Yes.
Uh, were, were raised by a single dad, a 45-year-old male, of course. Our dad was great. He was loving and caring and always put us first. Because of this, we never missed our deadbeat mom. My dad even sacrificed his love life though and never dated anyone. Okay, so this is someone who's very dedicated to their children. My
Yes.
brother, a 24-year-old male, disowned our dad around 3 years ago for a reason I'd also disown him, to be honest. My brother found out our dad and his then girlfriend, 27 now, doing it. Thus, my brother got mad at my dad and cut him off, moved out of the house, and went to live with some friends. This seems a little bit extreme so far. This seems a bit of an overreach. 45 and 27 is odd, but both fully in the right frame of mind, I would hope.
I mean, 45 and 27 is not even that bad. The difference, right? Little personal story here.
Go for it.
The difference between my uncle and my auntie is 30 years.
Okay.
So obviously between them is like what, Matt?
What do you mean, math?
I'm just trying to figure out 5 and then 15.
Oh, the years between them.
It's like what, 20, 22, something like that? Yeah, 22. Yes,
Yeah,
I still
22.
have it.
So 22 years between them. It isn't mad. I mean, it's not something that you run into all that often. Most people are around the same age.
Yeah, man, like max I seen from like from my parents when I used to be little.
Mhm.
Most I've seen is like 4, 5, 10-year difference is the biggest I've seen, and it
Yeah.
was looked down upon.
Yeah,
But
personally.
obviously,
But yeah, no,
the difference is important.
yeah,
You
so
know, you can't.
I think it's more specifically that the brother found our dad and his then girlfriend doing it. So, like, has obviously, like, walked in
Yeah.
onto a private setting or something like that. Anyway,
Oh yeah, no, that's definitely scarring.
yeah. So we'll see. Go from here. Right. No matter how hard my dad has tried to apologize and reach out to him, my brother ignores him. My dad has suffered a lot because of this and has gotten mad at us many times since my sister and I know where my brother lives. We've visited him a couple times. And he demands we let him know, but we can't because my brother threatens that if we ever tell him, he'll go to NC with us. So I'm guessing that's North Carolina. Um,
I'm guessing so.
I'm guessing moving state essentially. So that they haven't mentioned the
Yes.
state beforehand, but I'm guessing because this is in the US, because of the grammar, then yes, it's probably moving to a different state. The thing is that this woman got pregnant with twins, but she didn't feel like being a mum, so she left them to my dad. My dad tells everyone that he's raising his grandkids. He swears they are my brothers, but I'm sure they are since my brother says he used protection. So I'm gonna
Oh.
read over that again. So he swears they are my brothers, but I'm sure they are his, since my brother says he used protection.
Oh, oh, I get it. Right. So no, the
Oh,
dad was fucking the brother's
oh,
girlfriend.
where he says his then
Oh,
girlfriend. Oh fuck. Okay,
oh, that's
so,
fucked up.
so this is well, we didn't pick up on that at all. So even when like the first paragraph saying about my dad even sacrificed his love life, he never dated anyone. The brother has walked in on his then girlfriend doing stuff with the
Oh,
dad.
oh, that's horrible.
Holy shit, that changes the context of this. That's why he's tried to apologize. That didn't make too much sense to me. It's like, why would you apologize for you being like your privacy being walked in on? But it's like, holy shit, no fucking shit, he walked out.
Jesus Christ.
Okay. So the age thing isn't really an issue. It's the fact that his dad, of all the people for your girlfriend to cheat on you with, it's your dad.
Ah,
Aw.
it's a big L for that guy.
And the woman got pregnant and had twins, but is now so the twins are now being raised by the dad as grandkids,
Mm.
but they're his kids, or what seems like. Jesus Christ. So
Oh, this is
this
fucked up in many
this
ways.
has changed so much. Fuck me. Okay, So the kids turned 2 months a couple of days ago, and he hosted a small party. So my uncle started asking about my brother as a kid's father, since no one in the family knew what happened, which is, I think, fair. Some more family drama. So my dad started talking shit about my brother, saying that he was an ungrateful son and a terrible father for leaving the two kids behind. I think my dad is angry at my brother for not forgiving him, so he's lashing out and he's being a bit aggressive, but there we are. As everyone in the family sees my dad as an example for the sacrifices he did, they started talking shit about my brother. So he's immediately like gone on the aggressive.
The family obviously don't
No,
know about. Oh
yeah.
Lord.
So the family, yeah. Um, So they're seeing the dad as an example for the sacrifices he made, is one of the sentences here, which is why
Not
they've
for.
joined in on
Yeah.
talking shit about the brother, thinking that he's just walked out on 2 kids, which is why he's portrayed them as grandkids, where actually, what's actually happened is he's had kids with the then brother's or son, girlfriend, and is now taking care of his own kids. Right, last little bit. I love my dad with my whole heart and I'd do anything for that man. I know all my siblings would. But he tried to portray my brother as a bad guy, and I love my brother, so I told him he wouldn't have disowned you if you hadn't fucked his girlfriend and got her pregnant. Jesus, just dropping bombs. Everyone looked at him and he tried to excuse his actions, but everyone told him to fuck off. So so the mood has changed like 4 times in the meaning of in the time of this party. Just being told that of like, "Okay, actually, you've been lying to us," and having all of those emotions come up in one time, I'm not too surprised that the rest of the family at this party told him to fuck off.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah. No, I'd be with the family there. I'd be like, fuck off, mate.
yeah, it's like, what yeah, there's a thing. And this is the actual last little bit now. They called my brother to apologize, but my dad is angry at me. He says this is a family matter and I should have kept my mouth shut. My wife says I did the right thing, but my sister is on my dad's side. So, am I the arsehole? Mm.
I mean, in a
Mm.
way, you don't air your dirty laundry out in public.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like you don't do that. But I mean, honestly, from my point of view, I would always stick with my father, right? If it was my dad who did that, I would always stick by his side, right? I even though I knew he was wrong, right, I would stick by my father.
Okay.
I see the guy's point of view, but obviously I have no brothers. I only have a sister, and
Mhm.
obviously I can't fully relate with that.
Okay. No,
But yeah,
that's
I'm curious to see what you're gonna say.
uh, I'm trying to have a thought process, and I'm struggling because saying things like "It's a family matter," I don't think really matter too much. I think he's more annoyed that he's been called out on his lie.
Aren't they also family? You
Well,
know, like
by the way that it's been said, they've called the brother to apologize, but my dad is angry at me. He says it's a family matter. The way that that's been phrased makes it seem like the party that has been brought together isn't necessarily just family. They could be like friends or like
oh,
just close
okay,
friends.
yeah, yeah.
So
I get that. I get that now.
it's not kept within the family. The party wasn't specifically for family members. It's just a party of people that know each other. I think the dad is just more angry that he's been called out. He's been caught in the lie that he's been going on for
Yeah, yeah.
a, at
What
least a
seems to
year
be
or
at
nearly a
least
year.
nearly a year.
Yeah. Taking into consideration the time of like how long they were pregnant and like the brother walking out and how long this whole thing has been going on for roughly a year or so. Um, I kudos to the poster of the story saying I love my dad with my whole heart and do anything for the man, and knowing that his siblings would do the same. I think credit is due in that sense of like not writing
Yeah,
off the
yeah,
father. But they aren't the ones being affected by this. Specifically catching your other half doing stuff. Let's say fucking a family member, one being your father, and so essentially you're finding out like 4 different things at one time. Um, that your partner is cheating on you with your father, is also then pregnant, and your dad is telling a lie about you. Like, there's a lot of things to consider in one go. Is like, yeah, I don't blame him for leaving. Um,
yeah. Like
it's
if I would have caught my dad having sex with my girlfriend,
yeah,
I would be upset. At him a little, but at
yeah.
her, I'd be very pissed at
Oh
her.
yeah, of course. That's why. like, I don't blame the brother for not having anything to do with the kids, and obviously, I'm guessing no DNA has been done or anything like that, but it's more likely
Oh
that
no.
it is the father's kids.
Yeah.
Seems odd, but yeah, it seems more like it's the father's kids than the brothers. This is obviously all from the viewpoint of this 26-year-old male. I wouldn't say he's the arsehole. I think he's just the father's pissed off that he's been caught in the lie. The lie has come out. He's slightly been written off by the other people at the party because they told him to fuck off.
Yeah.
He's tried to bring some sort of rationale and excuse to his or like bring up his reasonings or his excuses for his actions. It doesn't seem to have gone down well. I feel like it's something that would have had to come out at some point. It's one of those rip the band-aid off, get it done
Yeah.
over and done with quicker rather than just dragging out the whole thing. But just me, maybe other people have different viewpoints on it. I'm gonna say for
No,
this
no, no.
one,
I agree. I agree with you.
I'm gonna say not the arsehole. And if I have a quick look, it was also voted on Reddit as not the arsehole. So um, this one though, I am kind of interested to have a look at some of the comments. That is a good point. He wants to paint himself as the good one while bad mouthing his son that he had betrayed. Obviously, other people didn't know that at the time, but
Yeah.
in his own mind, true. OP's dad needs a slap of reality. Now he has to face the consequences of his actions. Yep, fair. I think that
Yes.
sums it up really nicely. I don't want to say what goes around comes around, but it is a case of this person has been lying, then bad mouthing their own son about a set of circumstances that aren't true. I'd understand why people get pissed off. Right, awesome. So we're gonna do our last story, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna rush through this one. So I'm gonna do the whole story, and then we're gonna comment on it afterwards. It's quite a short story, so hopefully it's well put together and cohesive. But we'll see. But I'll go through the whole thing, and we'll see what.
It's Reddit. Don't have high
I
expectations.
know, no, the cesspit that is Reddit. Although the stories are good, they're interesting to read about. So we'll see. Okay, so am I the asshole for refusing to breastfeed in front of anyone but my husband? So this is from a 22-year-old female. 22F,
22.
22, yeah, quite young. So we'll see how this goes. 22F, had a baby 3 months ago. Congratulations to OP. I've been exclusively breastfeeding because it's free, and my doctor has said that there's lots of nutritional benefits. I don't feel comfortable with having anyone other than my husband seeing my breasts slash me breastfeeding. I was at dinner at my Mills last night, so my mother-in-law's. While the whole family was having dinner, the baby got hungry. I said, I'm going to go feed the baby and be back soon. Sister-in-law asked why I didn't just pop out a boob and feed the baby right there. I said I didn't feel comfortable doing that. She then went on some rant about how I'm continuing the trend that women should be ashamed of their bodies and blah blah feminism. I don't care what anyone else does with their bodies. Why does she care about mine? Isn't feminism about being able to do what you want with your body without others giving you shit? Anyways, I said all that. The room went kind of silent and I left. When I came back, it was awkward and she wouldn't talk to me. She later that night blew up on me in text, calling me a major holier than thou arsehole who just wants to make her look bad for stating her opinion. Am I the arsehole?
No. In initial thoughts, you're not the asshole, and I totally agree with what OP said there.
Mm-hmm.
About what feminism is. I see like new feminism, 2022 feminism, right? I'm gonna get a
Okay.
lot of hate for this one. Has turned into man hating more than anything, right?
Okay.
Feminism started off as being, everyone should be equal, everyone should have equal rights.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree with that. Everyone should have equal rights. But now it's more of a, I want to do what men do and do it just as good, without actually thinking I can't do what men do and do it just as good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a fact of just because you're a woman. It's biological factors, really.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why many women get pissed off as like, oh well, why do you say that about women? It's like, it's biological. It's nothing against women or you. It's a biological fact there, and it's too much.
I would say
2022 feminism.
it has become slightly more toxic, and I think you see more of these traits from places like Twitter. Like if that's where you get like these kind of opinions from, not you personally, but I mean in general, if that's the opinion that you
Yeah.
get of feminism is from Twitter, then usually I'd say take a step back.
Yeah.
It has become a lot of man hating online, and this isn't me stating some strong opinion of that is how the whole movement is. Um, I'm very much in the mindset of equality, of opportunity rather than outcome, and to some degree, it is intrinsic to unfortunate as it is that it just is the way that life is at the moment, and there isn't really too much we can do about it. That is intrinsic, on average, that women are typically weaker than men, and it's just like a fact of life that we have to accept to some degree. Um,
Yeah,
but
they have slow reaction times, slower moving muscles. Actually,
mm,
I've actually conducted a lot of research in this,
hmm
and they do have slower moving muscles around the body, except in the eyes,
oh,
which are actually 25% faster than majority of males.
okay, no, that's fair. It's not something I'm gonna like look into specifically now and go into a deep dive, and maybe in the future that is something that we can go into. And I don't want to sit here as two guys just shitting on women because I don't think that's
Oh no, 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 no!
intrinsic to us.
Women are great.
Yeah,
Women are great.
yeah,
Don't get me wrong.
exactly that, and like it's it's not something that we just want to sit here and start judging the whole half of the population of well, you're just shitter than us. That's not how I want this to be perceived as. It's more of a case of there are certain things that women do differently that, yeah, will change over time. And I'm not saying it's is it more of a case of there's exceptions to the rule. It is on large. There will be I personally will admit, as someone who's been on the receiving end of what I'd consider domestic abuse and is still being looked into, that there are women out there that are stronger than me. And just the same for you, there will be women out there that are stronger than you. And being able to at least recognize on some level that in this particular thing, stating it as blah blah feminism doesn't minimize anything because who the story is coming from is going to be the recipient of that kind of, I suppose, rhetoric in social fields. Um, at the end of the day, this person has chosen to avert eyes, I guess. They just aren't comfortable with doing a certain action in front of other people, and that is that's perfectly fine. It's their choice to do that.
Yeah,
Um, I
yeah,
see no issue with it putting it in the purview of immediately continuing a trend of women should be ashamed of their bodies. It's just one particular instance of this one woman not being particularly comfortable in that environment at a dinner breastfeeding their child. That's perfectly fine. Other people will be perfectly comfortable with it. I'm sure the rest of the table
yeah,
would have been fine with it. This one particular person isn't. Getting shit on for it and having this holier than thou like mindset placed upon them by someone else seems somewhat antithetical, I suppose, to why they're saying it in the first place. It seems slightly hypocritical to be like, as part of the feminism movement, to uplift women and not to degrade men to the maybe the level that it has been in the past. Uh, seems slightly hypocritical in that it's like, well, surely you just want to encourage good behaviors or what we'd consider good behaviors from other women to be like, if you're not comfortable with that, that's perfectly fine. If you are comfortable with that, that's also perfectly fine. But then being shat on by uh, a what I'm going to say is a family member married into at this particular point isn't doesn't seem conducive to the whole movement. So it's odd that that's the reaction that it brought out in this particular person. It didn't help
yeah,
afterwards.
yeah.
Obviously, coming back to it.
I don't believe that was the right reaction. I don't think that was the right way to proceed about things.
Hmm
As you said, obviously some people would be comfortable, some people wouldn't. But even if you look at it that way, most people are not comfortable seeing a woman breastfeed. I mean, I don't know about you, but if I would see a woman breastfeed, I don't know, in the park, for example, it's not that I wouldn't be comfortable, but it's not that I would try. It's not that I would be uncomfortable. It's just that I would be more comfortable is her not being there. You know what I mean? Because it's like it's. I understand it's feeding, but it's still in our minds. It's implanted that breasts and nudity and taboo and that type of stuff. And personally, I wouldn't be all that comfortable seeing a woman breastfeed. So I don't think OP was an asshole.
No, that's perfectly. I agree that OP is not an arsehole. I get what you mean. It's like there is some maybe it's a social thing in our minds that we sexualize that type of thing, and it isn't always intentional. It's just an association that we have in our minds. Um, Me personally, I don't think I'd be too bothered with it, but I think that goes to show that people are going to have different viewpoints on these kind of things. Um,
Yeah, of
and
course.
I like listening to those kind of different conversations of people coming from different viewpoints when it comes to this kind of thing. And in this particular situation, if I was at that dinner table, I wouldn't have an issue with it, but I also wouldn't have an issue with it if they wanted to excuse themselves for that exact reason. It's something that maybe we'll flush out more in the future, and we can have a proper full-on hour-long podcast talking over viewpoints and that kind of thing. I would obviously like to invite someone in who does identify as a female and maybe has a little bit more knowledge on the point of the movement as it currently stands and their viewpoints on it as well. Um, Mainly because I don't want it to be like an echo chamber of two guys talking about feminism. It seems like doesn't seem very productive.
Yeah.
We managed to express some viewpoints and have some conversations about some certain things. Obviously, in the
Yes.
future, there'll be more like personal stories and things like that. Be some
Yeah.
interesting points to bring up. And
Hopefully we didn't bore you to death.
yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the first episode of the Roadish podcast, and hopefully a hell of a lot more in the future. I will admit at this particular moment in time, we don't know where this is going to be found. We're hoping that we're going to be able to upload to places like YouTube and Spotify, maybe even iTunes and things like that. Maybe even on Amazon Music. But wherever you found us, um, thanks, thanks for listening. If you got this far, we appreciate it massively, of course,
Yeah.
for listening
We,
to our
we
rambles.
appreciate you very much. You're probably a very awesome person.
Exactly, I agree. Not the asshole.
Definitely not the asshole.
Not the arsehole. So, with that, we're going to leave it there. Thanks for everyone for listening. We, as I say, we massively appreciate you and thanks for your time. And we'll talk to you guys in the next one.